Good afternoon. You are about to enter a zone that you have never entered before. The Mosby Positive School Culture and Climate Zone. A wise woman once said that if you don't feed the teachers, they eat the students. 3! Throughout this presentation, we will visit various destinations that have an overwhelming impact on school culture and climate. Well, howdy. Before I can discuss what a positive school culture and climate is, I have to be reflective on what it is not and the characteristics that determine a negative school culture and climate. A negative school culture is equivalent to being the only person in a vacant Western town. It is saying that it's my way or the highway. And clearly, the people in this town have chosen the highway. A negative school culture is a toxic environment where students and teachers work against the school's vision and goal. Faculty and staff that work in a negative school culture and climate lack the motivation and drive to create academic successes. They think of their principal as a boss instead of a leader, an intimidator rather than an inspirator, a commander-in-chief rather than a coach. My goal as a leader is to not dwell in the land of the vacant Western town, but I plan to build a positive school culture and climate. Before we are able to successfully create a positive school culture and climate plan, we must first assess the plan that's already in place. This is where we meet teachers and determine what's working and what's not. Lesson 101 in building a positive school culture and climate is the quality of relationships. Relationships influence everything from the social climate to the individual performances of our students. The next most important component in building a positive school culture and climate makes me think about how my family prepares for Thanksgiving and how we equally contribute to the meal. My sisters, daughters, and I collaborate to create systems that work toward a common goal, the finished meal. One sister may wash dishes while the other bases the turkey. Yet in the end, we get to enjoy a full Thanksgiving meal. This is very similar to lesson number 2 in creating a positive school culture and climate. Communication is the key. In this component, stakeholders, students, teachers, faculty, and staff collaborate to create systems that work for the greater good of a school community. In this component, we create classroom norms, school rules, and other systems that contribute to the day-to-day operations of a school. In this component, we not only create the systems, but we also model the expectations of what the system should look like. Lesson number 3 is creating an atmosphere where staff feels appreciated. This is routinely recognizing and celebrating people's contributions, efforts, and victories to the successes of the school community in the day-to-day operations. When I think about lesson number 4 in creating a positive school culture and community, I think about the movie Monsters, Inc. One of the most important themes of the movie is the whole good versus evil situation, not just in the major corporation as being exposed as corrupt, but the simple fact that there are good and evil monsters out there. We all know as educators that there are good and bad monsters out there. However, lesson number 4 deals with recognizing the awesomeness of students. This is simply a means of encouraging good behavior in academics and attendance. It's recognizing and praising positivity that creates a shift from the deficit mode. It gives students a sense of self-worth and school pride. And last but not least, the final component of building a positive school culture and climate is support. How does this work, you may ask? How do we support teachers? This is where we host instructional planning meetings. This is where we dig deep and push teacher thinking so that they can get back to the classroom and execute phenomenal and effective lesson plans. Let's take a look. This is an example of a science instructional planning meeting. So tell me what you're shifting from.
So I'm shifting
So
from...
originally, what did you have for
Originally,
application?
I had for them to determine if the following is a synthesis or decomposition reaction, which was identifying. We're going to shift to an application where they're going
So
to
why are we shifting?
So that we're making a shift so that they're not just identifying, but they're applying.
So do y'all agree?
Yes.
That
Absolutely.
it was what? Her original tier 2 activity was what?
It was yeah.
Still knowledge based. And so we're shifting from the knowledge base to the application piece.
Yeah.
And then what are they, describe what they're doing on the application piece, Ms. Campbell.
On the application piece, they're going to take the different pieces in their envelope. They're going to have pieces of elements and compounds with yields and plus signs, and they're going to create 2 synthesis and 2 decomposition reaction using those pieces.
Snap it up for Miss Campbell.
All right, I got
This
it.
is. Imagine what kind of school culture and climate that is built when the principal sits down to properly plan with teachers. Imagine the feeling of support that is created. Teachers are motivated and excited to get back to their classrooms to execute those lessons.
What you tell the camera what you're doing?
Probably making a synthesis.
So you're creating a synthesis reaction.
Yeah.
Using those. Okay. So what are you gonna start with? Okay, so find the element. So you got aluminum. And now what do you need to do? Okay. Now what? After your element, what do you need?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So I got to add through with another element.
Okay. Okay. So you try carbon. Look and see if you see any compounds that have those elements in it.
If I don't,
Then you need to readjust.
As you can see, I have created a school culture and climate where teachers will be fed. Primarily, we must assess the current school culture and climate to determine if it's positive or negative. Then we shift to component number 1, building relationships. And then we shift to number 2, communication and collaboration amongst faculty and staff. And components 3 and 4 are very important to the idea of positive school culture and climate. Faculty and staff celebrations and student recognition. And last but not least, an overwhelming support for teachers. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for tuning in to Mosby's Positive School Climate Zone.